Hey everybody, this is Rydo, and we're back to ReThink, the old version of ReThink, the original version. And we spent most of the last recording jumping around on these platforms, trying to light them all up. And 5 minutes after I stopped recording and started playing off screen, I was able to do it. That's not just a coincidence. It happens certainly a lot of times. I think for most streamers, most people who are going to have even a very small amount of anxiety slash stage fright, uh, it does just tend to always be the case that the second you turn off the screen. Also, it is almost certainly a case where, while it took me 5 minutes this time, there probably are cases where I have to do something off screen because I've already spent an hour making footage and failing at it. And then it has still taken a very long amount of time. So we now are at puzzle 31, and we're being introduced to some kind of rolling sphere with game physics of a rolling sphere, which that's new. We can see there's a battery down here. We can see what seems to be maybe some kind of weighted switch. What is it doing when I stand on it? Nothing. But it is making a sound effect to tell me that it's a weighted switch. It looks like maybe something is going down an incinerator. A lot of this does just feel like it's maybe getting a little dangerously too close to the idea of ripping off elements of Portal 1 and Portal 2. Honestly, at this point though, I wouldn't have a problem. Even if this had come out a couple of years after Portal 1 and Portal 2 had come out, I wouldn't really mind the ripping off idea. Because why not? We do have our middle mouse button invoked again, but I don't think we really had it before. So we need to switch here, we need to switch here, and then I'd assume the ball is going through and around, which why even hide it other than because you can't animate a curve. And that hit that switch and that got us this. And this just resets the ball, which I imagine you don't get another ball until it does meet that spot. Yeah, I could slightly see myself as a fan of Portal 1 and Portal 2 complaining if somebody was just trying to blatantly rip it off, but they hardly are doing it better anyways. So we've got an elevator here that seems like it can be basically at any height you want it to be. But no way to really change the height after the fact. This ball isn't rolling down into anything else that would trigger something else. So it really feels like this is just an introductory puzzle on the idea of the spheres. Let's activate this switch again just to make sure that we're right about that and that we're done with the ball. Yep. There was a pretty good assumption that could have been made. Yeah, green, blue or orange are just as good. And activating this, I don't know what that actually did. Oh, it erased this and gave us the battery. Now I remember. But yeah, it's a pretty good assumption to make that you wouldn't have gotten a Portal 3 after Portal 2 had come out, and it was a pretty good assumption even before then that we weren't even going to get a Portal 2 after Portal 1 came out. There was certainly a lot of weirdness for Valve to come out and release any games when they released the Orange Box. And they personally did not believe that Portal would have been the one that people critically talked about way more. They were much more focused on people playing Left 4 Dead, and I believe there was a Counter-Strike Go in the Orange Box too. There's another ball over here, so this may just be a lot longer of a puzzle than it seems. Okay. So we put the battery here. Let's crank this elevator to the max. And I guess that's how we get out. So we go in the orange mode, go through, and then middle mouse button. I don't think there's a way we're going to get to our battery back. And then we saw an orange ball going this direction, but maybe that was just a red herring or a decoration. I don't even see it from this angle, and I definitely don't think I'm going to get the battery. We may just be following... There's the ball. We may just be following the ball as a decoration, as a connecting aspect. Yep. And it looks like I can just jump down here for puzzle 32, and we're going to have some... If I'm reading these signs correctly, we're going to have some red, green, blue receptors and some combined color receptors involved in this puzzle too. So I could either fall down this way, which I imagine I'm coming back this way later, or I could have taken the other way. Doesn't seem like it really matters one way or the other. We have a transmitter, a red transmitter, that is not transmitting red. Interesting. We have a splitter. I don't think makes a lot of sense. Here we can look downward to a puzzle we have not done yet. So there's a lot more up and down elements to these puzzles, it seems, too. That seems right. That's probably wrong. Almost certainly that has to be right. If not, we would be hitting it from the side. Yeah, there's a whole nother puzzle down lower that we may need to solve first to get the red going. I suspect that's what is happening here. So, a red transmitter here, probably just be combined. Probably hit that. I have a ton of components. Extra. Like, way more components. Frankly, that makes sense. Unless there was some other secret section to this. I shouldn't have 3 splitters and 10 items unless we can break through here. Now we don't go through the purple, I guess, if we hit this. But then you would go through the purple if you hit that. We wouldn't go through a purple barrier if we walk through this area, but almost certainly our combined elements would get reset. We could try and long jump and see if we could land on the planters. Not that that would really help us any. Feels to me like what's gonna happen is we've got to turn off that purple down there. That seems to be the only thing that would make some sense. So we'll walk through the purple. And that resets all my items. I'll come down here and grab the items in this area. We've just got a whole bunch of blue looking for things, I guess. Okay. If I was able to send blue here, that would hit one thing and one thing only. If I was able to send blue here, that would hit that. This potentially makes an argument that that would be the right move for those. But then also I think there's no way you hit that without that being the right move for those. And then that actually has to be the right move for those. So then we just need a splitter here. And then that. Maybe not quite that. Let's see. This may be a case where, once again, it's just not going to be very pretty as far as the solutions go. And then it may really just balance out to something closer to this. That's all 4. Again, 4 extra components, extra. We're running into that problem where the game is just getting worse, in my opinion, because we are getting a lot of red herring puzzles, and the puzzles, or red herring pieces, and the puzzles themselves are not actually getting much more complicated. Although I would probably be willing to admit that it would be very difficult with these light puzzles to get much more complicated, which then only begs the question as how in the world are there 4 rethinked games in existence? Okay. Next part. We activate this. That does not disable the screen. What does it do? Doesn't disable the screen there either. It just doesn't. You must turn on the red transmitter. But shouldn't there be something, some line, some connecting thing? Yeah, it does turn on the red transmitter. But it, yeah, certainly would have made more sense to simply have a spot here where you put the battery. So we've got red now, we just need to split the red with our 10 splitter items into the turquoise colors. So how are we going to accomplish that? I probably have the solution wrong. If I put the red here, then I never get the red back out. So I need a splitter first. It seems like we only have one splitter. No, I have a whole bunch of them. I didn't need to take that one then, did I? Let's put that back. That splits that back in that direction. So if I shoot beam that way, it only hits one. If I shoot a beam that way, it fixes that issue too. Okay. So how do I get this to really work in my favor? Gotta go probably something like this and then bounce it all the way around in a windy way. Yeah, I think that's everything there. Still 9 extra blocks. Unless it was a case where you were supposed to place the box and then stand on the blocks. But you can't stack these blocks on top of each other anyways. You can only place one down. This is probably a great example of convoluted versus complicated when we're ending up with 9 extra blocks. Unless we take these 9 extra blocks to the next puzzle, we have 1 splitter, we have 9 redirectors. There's just no way you are going to place 9 redirectors down at the bottom. And I don't really believe that there's a carryover happening here, that the next puzzle I do will have 9 plus a few more cubes, as if all the extras are being carried over to the next puzzle. No, this next room, I have exactly 0 of everything to start with. Well, that's always the case. But over there, the pickup of items seems to only be 4. This is a puzzle that is in the trailer for ReThink, and this was in particular a puzzle that I was questioning wasn't straight up in the second game or just a bait and switch type thing where the trailer was completely wrong and just false advertising. And at a certain level it is false advertising though. Like when you're told to not play the old version of the game, and the old version of the game is the only one that has this like is the only one that has this content in it. So the ball, by the way, is the same ball that we saw rolling earlier. It's just going all the way through this. Getting this exactly right is going to be difficult, to say the least, because the ball's going to have momentum, and you can't just, you either get it to bounce on the edge, which it won't do. Well, it did do it. I was not expecting it to work that well. So I think I probably lucked out quite a bit there, solving that puzzle way earlier than I think it was expected for me to solve it. I suppose there might be room to try to get another ball all the way across. So let's go ahead and raise up this platform a little higher. Undoubtedly, though, this is finicky, a little tough to control. We haven't found a log in a while. And we have all these lasers, but we haven't even seen the laser puzzle yet. Laser puzzle was over there. So the solution is to just long jump and do a diagonal long jump, which is also in the trailer. So the solution to a lot of this puzzle is shown in the trailer. Which, that's another thing certainly you don't want to do. This is, even for the old version of the game, kind of an inconsistent puzzle to show off and highlight. Unless the remaining 7 to 17 puzzles, take your pick whether there's 40 or 50. I suspect there's exactly 40. Yeah, so unless the remaining 7 puzzles all heavily play like this puzzle, I wouldn't expect, I really wouldn't have expected this one to be used as an advertisement. Although in all fairness, for a puzzle game, showing a puzzle that's not like any of the other puzzles might be a way of avoiding spoilers. As I continue to play this game, I am, I think, being more generous in my mind as to what I would have originally called a mistake when I started playing the old version of this game, in that it did definitely feel very much like a mistake to have so much of the old version of the game just be removed in favor of the new version of the game, which is just so much more simpler. Yeah, that's a nice pretty diamond shape with a tree in the middle, and that lit up both of the doors. I wonder if we're coming back this direction at some point. Might be the case. Maybe we'll run ourselves through the platforms, and that's why there is that orange wall there. since so much of this does seem like it is just copying, or it's at least heavily influenced by Portal, the idea of running somewhere where you wouldn't expect you would have been where you were supposed to be would kind of make some sense. We have another ball, and we have some solid cubes to collect. We haven't done a puzzle like this before in a while. Well, we have done them before, we just haven't done them in a while. So a lot of stuff, I guess, is happening here as far as we want balls to flow. I'm not 100% sure if blue is the right color, or if I want orange, or if I want an alternating blue and orange. But the first thing to do, I imagine, is just build it, and then we'll change it if it's wrong. That was the exact amount of cubes we had, so I assume that was correct. And we'll sit on this, and we'll see where the balls go. Blue ball goes through here, rotates. Okay. I think we've kind of got this. We got to get it both right at the same time, though. You can't just have one ball lit up, because like we've already done that. But what's going to happen is I'm going to stand on this reset pad, which really should be playing a sound effect and isn't, and so that destroyed both of the balls. And if I do nothing and start on blue, nothing happens. So let's start on orange. Problem with orange there is that you gotta cycle a couple times over. Well, regardless though, we've done it. That one's lit up. That gives me that. That gives me that. And we can just place these here. And I imagine we're supposed to just look at this section, and this is just another section we're going to get to. What does that puzzle say? 37. Yeah. I don't think there's any secret, and certainly we're solving some of these puzzles very quickly. I could grab these back with me just out of safety's sake. And I could certainly try to get up to like scaffolding again. There's a glass barrier here on this side, so you're not going to get back into that area. The hanging lantern is something that definitely could have been in the remake of the game to just make the ceiling look better instead of bland ceilings that just look like that throughout the entirety of the remake. Now, honestly, if you're so ADD that you're getting distracted looking up and seeing a sign and some wiring and some planters, you probably shouldn't be playing a puzzle game in the first place. Or you should probably just have to develop the skills to struggle through that. I have 16 cubes. When I walked through that threshold, I still have the 16 cubes. Good. Okay. So we will take that as meaning that that could be helpful. Let's see, what do we need? The whole area here has just kind of a green hue to it, so it's kind of hard to tell whether I'm supposed to be doing green or yellow, but I guess I'm doing yellow. So then, how do we do red? We've got to, I imagine, split this. So we have reds going this direction. So this should be red, theoretically. Let's see if we can make this look more red. Then the only one that's merging here is that split. Okay. Then that doesn't make sense. Maybe that makes sense. Maybe we're doing something like that. Red here and red here. Line up all of that. Okay. Do I have everything solved already? I do. I was expecting this puzzle to be way more complicated than that. Way more complicated than that. So I just shot one here. I didn't even think this was in any way gonna work. I shot the red here for a three-way splitter. Then it goes into a V-splitter. Then it hits this and merges into yellow. Meanwhile, the green from this gets split this way, and then hits back onto this V-splitter, which would just combine the red and green into yellow, shooting the yellow this way and this way in a second reinforcement of red. So it's basically getting green. These cubes are getting green twice and red once. I find that fairly annoying. Here we see these cube animations at a much larger scale than what we saw before. And I still heavily suspect that there is nothing special about this. It's not like it's Morse code or sheet music or something like that. If it is supposed to mean something, that's probably an Easter egg at most. And yeah, we have 5 extra items that'll just get left behind. And then 35 looks like it is just going to have a walking puzzle on it as the main focus. Probably just trying to get to this ladder. Here we have a big structural green artificial tree, which is, yeah, just way more artsy than the first, the remake of the game. And we're back to stepping on platforms. Looks like we've got some glass down here. We can look downward and see where we've been. Probably to remind us that there is still a lower section that we haven't done. But is there a way to even skip this and move on to the puzzle? Because that feels a little inconsistent in the game. I could see being told and encouraged that to skip some of the walking puzzle if you don't enjoy it. This may not be a good pattern that I'm doing, because I may hit a point where I cannot easily cross. But then this whole thing might be kind of easy. Don't stand where the planters are. Don't stand on that one. Okay. So the move would be to jump here to fix that mistake I probably made. And then stand here. And then jump here. Jump here. Jump here. Jump here. Jump up to this. If anything, this feels like this is a fairly easy one. Maybe a little tricky when you have to consider heights. But perhaps not that tricky. With every jump, there is that possibility of it glitching. But overall, I think we may have this. It's all got that green tint to it though. So it didn't all flash green. So there must be some panels I missed. There. It flashed orange. That is a very sharp contrast from the experience I had with the previous jump puzzle, where there was a lot of long jumping going on and a lot of opportunity to fail, a lot of double jumping, bouncing of the spacebar, all of which I think would have been addressed more had this game had more funding instead of just being a Steam Greenlight game. Had a publisher been involved, they could have hired a second tier of team programmers to just have controller support and smooth out the controls. It is pretty obvious, I would say, though, that they are intentionally making this puzzle easy, because you can't not engage with that one. And although it seems weird, it's inconsistent, to say the least, that there are some of these walking puzzles that you can skip and some of them that you can't. But yeah, there's just no way you were going to take a long jump without this platform being up and meet this elevator. We're in a weird position, certainly, now, in that we're approaching, I think, the end of the game. And there could be secret levels. There could be 1 or 2 secret levels. I wouldn't expect there to be an extra 10 secret levels. or the puzzles, the last couple puzzles could be very difficult, and or the last few puzzles could be pretty difficult. So here we're at 36, just mixing colors together again, which this honestly feels like this isn't too different from some of the earliest puzzles we did, where you're just bouncing around laser sights in a way that prevents them from blocking other people. I mean, is that all that was needed? And I still have the cubes, which I feel like the game probably didn't really intend for me to have 16 cubes ready to place down at any time next time I see a black wall. Although it would be kind of weird if the game actually does intend me for some secret level to have 16 cubes, and then I would have to wander back through the previous levels. I mean, we see a black wall here. Let's wander around and see if we have any more cubes that we could use. We can't jump up here, and we don't have any items, but we can be projected up this way, which then that gives me the items. For a second there, I thought it was just going to project me up this way to make me see where the cubes were and remind me about it. Here we can see several cubes back behind that glass. If we can turn the glass off. I don't know if we really need them, but we should probably still try and collect them. And these symbols, I'm still not sure I've fully figured out what they mean. Where's the receiver? We have a blue receiver this direction, which has to be that, which means if we're gonna hit that, we have like no diagonal shot to hit a blue receiver. Oh, the red receiver is over here, so I could bounce the red like that way. I could bounce the red light this way. I can bounce the red light this way. I can bounce the red light this way. And I can bounce the red light that way. Very twisty. That gets me up to 23. We have a green light. We've got an elevator with, doesn't seem like elevator controls. We've got a green receptor. We basically know we have to shoot the green either that way or that way. Well, if we were to shoot it this way, then we could bounce it back. So let's do that. As the green receptor hit, what does the green receptor actually do, though? Green receptor powers what? Here's the line. It goes around and up, and it must turn off a wall on the other side of that. And then that probably means there's another barrier wall here for the blue, which we know the blue has to hit that. Which means blue has to hit that. Which means the blue has to hit that. And so I think we have that solved too. We can change the color with the middle mouse button. And I see a battery up that direction. And so we probably want that battery, since we know batteries carry over. Okay, well, let's see if we can just fairly easily drag, since we have so many cubes anyways. And then we'll just suck up all of these pieces, and then we'll jump. Yeah, I think this is going to make it way easier. Okay. We want to go through a blue, so whoops. Let's then try this first. Let's see if we can get one more. Then we'll jump up here. Yeah. It's fairly annoying when you have a game where the tiny jumps are the ones that fling you and have you bounce against the wall. Okay. So I'm just gonna jump over that platform and activate this battery and see what that did. This would have been another reminder to go back and get some pieces. I think I'm done here. Though, like, if I fling myself over in that general direction, like, I think I really just have found a better solution, and kind of speed run strats or something like that, whatever you want to call it, because I think the solution they intend for me to do, let's see, are we in orange or are we in blue, is to jump from this direction, hit the blue, and be stopped, which gets me to this platform, which then I believe the intention was to raise that. Maybe we still need to do that just to get a higher height. Guess the question would come down to, do we need, again, it's just showing us the extra pieces we could have grabbed. And I suspect we'll see a ball roll through here after some time regardless. Unless there's something I did wrong that would have stopped a ball from rolling through here. I would have thought I would have seen one by now. So maybe I'm solving the puzzle wrongly. But I'd like the battery. So I want to see if I can take the battery with me. again with the other color. Get flung all the way over here. Then get flung all the way back. No. That won't cut it. Okay. So the move would have to be to lower it somewhat. Like that. And let's see if this works. Not quite. We'll lower it a little bit more. It's very possible that while it may be doable this way to be flung and get on this platform, it may not just be reasonable or worth your time to mess with it. Yeah. I don't think I want to mess with it. I think we're close enough to the end of the game that if it turns out that there was some secret where we did need another battery, it should be pretty obvious. Now, I will say I don't like that this purple is in the same spot as the blue and green. It seems like it needed to have happened, but it should be at least one square forward, because the blue was also a barrier at one point. Also, we've lost all 16 of our cubes, so if there was some cheat originally from that, they didn't want you to be able to take that cheat with you any further. And we've got some laser balls. Let's see what happens with them. Seems like they are going to come from two different places, and then they need cubes here to go all the way down. Okay, that's easy enough to figure out. Is this glass, or is this straight up just a way to fall downward with the green trim? I'm confused. I think this is glass for sure, but this looks like it's just fall downable for. Yeah. Okay, so you can fall down here and then walk up here. Let's go ahead and ask some basic questions as far as what's over here. This is our exit, most likely. It gives you a slightly better view of how much has to be jumped on. Okay. Here, here, here. We'll have to reach that one later. Gotta be somewhat careful here. Okay. can I recover from that? No. This could be fairly easy as far as a walking puzzle, or this could get fairly hard. I guess it's really just going to come down to whether or not there are a lot of places I need to walk on this top level, or whether there are places I'm just not seeing. And we've got a whole bunch of cubes here. And I totally was missing those. Did not see them at all. So let's take that as an opportunity to be distracted. I still have like 12 cubes left. Which, honestly, it felt like there was quite a lot of cubes there. Okay. So, my thought is this, 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 and then this. There we go. We got it. Now it would just be a matter of figuring the way back up, which basically has to be this direction. It is very creative to have platforming that instead of being vertical where you go up higher, it is platforming where you are instead going lower. Okay, what happened there? Did we not blow these up, or did the blue just go through the blue? Nope. So this should have worked if I had hit the reset button. Did I not stand on the reset button? Oh. Interesting. So trickier than it seems. But maybe not that tricky. Still doesn't really explain the extra 6 cubes. Unless they're going to collide in some other way. Well, that worked. It was a little bit bouncy. And then they both went into their separated receptacles and activated whatever they were going to activate, which I guess was a second fuse or battery. I've been calling them batteries lately. That gives me another 14 cubes. So what the heck am I supposed to be doing with all these cubes? Two batteries, cubes, galore. Let's just recover what we had left before. So we're up to 30 now. Then I guess we now should walk around this section. Visually, there's not a lot pointing towards this direction. It feels like there should have been a blocking gate here connected directly to these switches. on top of unlocking a battery. It's one battery charged and connected. Where is the other receptacle? I guess it's probably in a hidden little crevice. So, long run jump. And let's just look and see if there's anything else in this little crevice. Nope. So, can't take the batteries with us. We go through the purple and it gets rid of all of our cubes again. And this feels like this may just be the end of the game, with the exception that there might be an actual secret puzzle or two. But I guess I was wrong about that. We're at 39 now, not 40. But I think it probably is a good spot to maybe take a break. Inherently, I think there's an issue here we're going to run into. There's a lot of places here to stand on and light things up first. And they are of fairly high distances. I would suspect there's a move here to solve all the walking pattern puzzle first. See if there is any red panels that matter, or otherwise it would be a problem. Then once you have solved all the walking panels, you'll jump around. Imagine placing laser reflectors, and this looks like this is another downward looking vision. Man. It does certainly tell me something as a video game critic, as somebody who tries to be as professional as possible on that. I definitely feel the desire to see people's first attempts more after playing this game. I have never seen a game, which in all fairness, most games don't show you earlier versions of their game, but I've never seen a game that has been so drastically more appealing to me personally than a newer version. There have been some low effort ports of a few games that might fall in that category. Seventh Guest, for instance. The original version kind of hidden and taken down in favor of a PC port of a mobile port of the game that's arguably way worse. I heard people make the claim that Artifact in its earlier versions was way better than what Artifact was when it was first finally released. Regardless, it doesn't matter, because I think they pretty much abandoned Artifact. There's so many of these upper spots, though. I'm just not likely to pull this off. I'm not even sure I'm going in the right directions. We see all these black spots. where you could place cubes, but so far I have not found any cubes to place. Of course, last puzzle there were cubes really just right in front of me and I didn't see them. Yeah. We definitely have hit a point where the puzzles are... See, I don't know if that's a platform I need to jump on to hit. Maybe you have to solve the laser puzzles before you can even reach all the platforms. We've got a giant location now. Like, just way, way bigger than is normally manageable. Okay. Screwed it up. So I do have a twinge of a thought that I should just do this off screen. But I also have a twinge of a thought that actually this isn't anywhere as difficult as it may seem at first glance, because there's just a lot of opportunities to get on the regular path and not have to deal with resetting the puzzle or standing on the duplicate piece. This almost certainly is the start, though. If you can't get these here, you're doomed. And I'm not sure I did get everything I needed to get there. So maybe I just messed up. Let's run over here. Running is a mistake, obviously, too. But you need to do running jumps sometimes. So I suspect, yeah, you have to do the top first. And if you can't get that top part done first, everything else should just be abandoned. Yep. So basically getting that one square, I think, is the one you need to get. But I don't know, maybe there's a square over here you also have to hit. So let's look at that. And there's just nothing in this room otherwise. Yeah, there's no way to get up to that. So I don't think you can solve the puzzle in its current form with the platforming. I think you need to do the platforming second. So let's deal with that. We've got a laser here that could be split. And then we've got a laser here that can shoot all the way that way to power one of those. Okay. I'm just gonna have a lot of brightly lit things. We have 2 more receptors. There's a level of tint depending on the angle where this feels a little darker because of the shadows behind it than this one, even though they're exactly the same. Okay. That one requires you to place one here. Wasting my time lighting up the panels while we're doing this. And the receptors and transmitters won't really get in the way. Okay. If I was to put a splitter here, maybe that hits something, but it doesn't seem like it does. I think that's probably wrong. Which probably means we have to go this way. If I was to put a splitter here, maybe that's right. No. That too. I don't think makes any sense. We'll experiment a little bit. Although this too doesn't really make any sense. We have one more receptor that would need to be hit. Let's see what we're doing here. That seems fairly perfect. There is a laser that's just turning off the wall. Which maybe it would make more sense if these were dotted lines instead of straight lines, or little dots, circles instead of, which I guess that would be dotted lines. Or if they looked more like bundles of wires instead of just rectangular lasers. Okay. The beam could be on that spot. It's probably what needs to happen. It's just gonna mean we need to long jump. And short jump. Okay. That splitter hitting a signal that way doesn't do anything, but hitting a signal that way does do something. I was hoping for a successful long jump there. It would be convenient, certainly, if all of a sudden I got the walking panel and the puzzle solved in one fell swoop. Okay. We made it past this point. So that should be 16 cubes exactly, and that's exactly how many we got. Okay, what do we need the cubes for? I guess is the question. I guess that's probably the answer. one shy. Not really a big deal. Does seem to me like the next move here is just going to be lining up everything, walking everything. I'm not sure I really even know where the door is though. Like, it feels like it's there, which feels like we need a battery, and then it will just be a long staircase downward. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll jump over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I think we've got everything that's fairly high up. Hopefully we're not missing something. And yeah, I guess if the lasers hurt you, there might be a problem there. Okay. I'm just gonna make some staircases here. Of course, I could also just build a path downward. That too would work. Build a path downward and then build a path back up. We're pretty safe jumping down here. The flying cars still look good, and it still seems like it is the same time of day, so any thought that maybe the time of day was changing, I think probably is not true. Okay, now I want to be very careful and look on the left side. Make sure we've activated everything that's fairly high up. That we're not going to stand on anything a second time. Let's do this section. Very, very carefully. Then let's do this section, since I am, I think, fairly safe. Is there anything more that needs to be stood on? No. Let's stand on this. Just don't want to screw this up. Okay. And then stand on these. And that should be it. That should have been the solution completely. We can see the battery is released for puzzle 39. It's weird to have 2 reset spots in the puzzle that you don't even use unless you were to walk through the barrier. Activate that, and we can see the floor goes down. And we're going through a purple barrier, which will not get rid of our 16 cubes. And we have puzzle 40, which just has the extra cube plus sign element. And let's read what this says. Bring up my camera so I can read it from such a far distance away. Honestly, if it was just 1.5 times bigger, it would be totally legible. Obviously, this is a game that's not really designed to be run at 1080p, and looking at something at 1080p from 8 feet away is not the right move either, unless it is a console game designed with a higher font size. Okay, it says, be careful. So ... The author of one of the other messages was right. There is more to it than I expected. Either this is a trap or I should use these weird cubes I collect here. But which way is the correct way? If it's a trap, it might not be what it looks like. If not, then it's obvious. When you read this, I already have the answer, but I cannot tell anyone, so it's up to you. This is Lynn 623 2275. So, yeah. The next day from the last one we've read. Of course, in video game terms, how careful do you really have to be? Just make a save file. And yeah. It definitely feels like there's room here for another 10 puzzles. But I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't. Now, of course, the problem here is, regardless of the fact that this looks prettier and this looks like escape, or this looks like you're going down to a dungeon, it just kind of doesn't matter video game wise. You want some reward as a player for having collected all 6, it seems, of these cubes. So we will place all of these cubes that look far too much like an Xbox symbol for what they probably should be. And this is an interesting new receptacle symbol that's only used once. And let's go. We'll probably get some text that pops up before us. It was never a test of intelligence, it was a test about decisions and the ability to accomplish something. You passed this test, you made the right decisions, you're now free again. Your future now depends on your decisions. That's a weird way to end it, in my opinion, considering how you kind of didn't have decisions until the very end. Your decisions were either to give up or continue. And yeah, so that ending definitely comes off as mostly gibberish and nonsense. But it is interesting that you actually can escape in the old version of the game, and I see no indication whatsoever that you can escape in the new version of the game. For a second there, I thought maybe there would have been more puzzles, or that you would have seen more. You can't as easily make a sequel if you wanted the same protagonist, but our protagonist is nameless, and we see that there are multiple named other test people in the original version of this game, so it would have been easy enough to have the sequel be a prison, and just a different prisoner playing. I won't be overly critical and say a game like this would have been better with voice acting. Sure, if you had that BioShock audio log technology and you paid the extra money for that voice acting, you could have listened to some logs and had writers write longer logs while you're walking around trying to solve puzzles. But none of the puzzles are really that long to justify needing the ability to walk around while somebody's voice acting. If anything, the voice acting of just maybe hearing the protagonist breathe every now and then, get exhausted, getting tired after they run, would be helpful. There's clearly some very basic sound effects, like when you place something down or pick something up, that can be tweaked also. But yeah, overall, I just love this original version for being more ambitious. It's never a test of intelligence, or is it about a decision? Sometimes it's better to rethink a decision. That's the reason why you're here and why you will stay here. So if you walk downward, you're just thrown into a prison. And then you have that. I imagine that's supposed to just be a glitchy. I imagine not supposed to be seeing the world load out when it reloads the game. You would half expect there to be like a major puzzle somewhere here. And it is interesting that it doesn't loop you all the way back and through the whole facility again. Well, there's only 4 spots. So if I hit that, that's 1 green. If I hit that, that's 1 green. If I hit that, that's 1 green. So did you really only need 4 greens? Seems like that is the case, that you actually only needed 4 out of the 6 extra cubes. But yeah, I'm walking forward and holding down the W key just to see if maybe something would happen there. And I don't think you starting a new game would make any difference or change anything. Inherently, I just feel like what should have happened here, you can't go until the timer is reset, is maybe a remaster in the form of ReThink Evolved, but not changing any of the gameplay mechanics, and then just moving forward with a sequel. The idea of creating a game and then rethinking a game, a particular game called ReThink, is metatextual to say the least, but at the end of the day, I had way more entertaining of an experience playing the old version of this game than the new version. The cameras, while they didn't play any role, and frankly we stopped seeing the cameras after a while, just feel more accurate. The visuals, the modeling, the texturing, the ambition here is just way better. I'd kind of like to see somebody speedrun this game, but I imagine speedrunning this game isn't actually that interesting either. Picking up lasers and then placing them down instead of just clicking on panels. Yeah, I guess I could go over a really long list of things that I think were better in the original form. Even having that 1 extra puzzle in total number, on top of having more variety in the puzzles. You do get more laser puzzles almost certainly in the new game. But this is a weird experience. And I'm going to have to think long and hard about it, whether I actually want to buy ReThink Lite and see if maybe that is ReThink Evolved with just laser puzzles, or buy ReThink Evolved. I'll probably buy the one that came out next chronologically, or if I just would want to play ReThink 2. I do think I want to play something more of this series, but I don't know if I want to play the potential 9 different games in this series, in which you have ReThink 1, 2, 3, and 4, then you have ReThink Evolved 1, 2, 3, and 4, then you have ReThink Lite, which I imagine is yet another remake of ReThink 1. It is certainly a case, though, where I would have spread this platforming up a lot more between 11 and 20. That got fairly frustrating, and then there definitely was one extra platforming section that was a little too frustrating for its own good. But I wouldn't move too much around. Maybe do 5 puzzles and then take 3. So do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Then do 11, 12, 13. And then do maybe 5, 6, 7, 8. Then do 14, 15, 16. And just break it up so that there's groups of 3 where you have rising action and falling action. Inherently, the way they did it, by having the feeling of different sections, in which there would be a blue section for the first 10, and then a platforming section, then a red section, then a green section, is not the level of rising action and falling action. It's not on the right timer cycle that you'd want. A lot of the laser puzzles, frankly, were a little too easy in the old version of this game, the original version, but not that easy. I easily got another 5 hours of gameplay out of ReThink in its original form. Had they completely eliminated the old form, I would be in a much easier decision point where I would have just not bought any more of ReThink at all. But now I am still very much in that weird point where I'm going to have to determine and decide when I would want to play ReThink Evolved, or when I would want to play ReThink Lite, or when I would want to play ReThink 2. Which of those 3 are even the right decision? Again, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if any of them are. But yeah, this is a great example, this first version, of pretty much where Portal 1 was when it was a student project called, I think, Verticular Drop or Vernacular Drop or something like that. It was just a student project made by a few students at DigiPen, and Valve hired those students and had them port their student project into what eventually became Portal 1, which was probably good for the students in at least the short term. It may very well have led the students to work at Valve just doing low-level customer service for the rest of their career, because after making Portal 1 and Portal 2, they certainly haven't churned out any other game that they can put on their portfolio or their resume, which is always the danger of, if you can get a job at Valve, should you, because you'll be set maybe for life, but you'll never actually accomplish anything artistic or creative. So the point I was trying to make, though, was, had this not just been a Steam Greenlight project, had Valve picked it up and said, we'll use these puzzles as part of a Portal 3, and they actually made a Portal 3, or if Ubisoft or EA or just any major publisher put enough funding behind this and polished it a little bit more, and it probably would have gone a lot further. Unfortunately, I think the ReThink series now is stuck as being moderately successful for a small indie game on Steam, but having really no momentum to port itself over easily to a Nintendo Switch console or a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X. And even if it did port itself over, it doesn't have the advertising budget or a publisher behind it to try and release the game as if it was brand new. And continue down the series. If a ReThink 5 was announced tomorrow, I wouldn't be that enthusiastic about it, because I still have to potentially play through the 3 in-between games at minimum before I'd play ReThink 5. So that will definitely be one thing I would look for in any future ReThink games that I play, is I want to see them make major improvements in having more puzzles, having slightly challenging puzzles, more challenging puzzle, having slightly better graphics, slightly better audio. This is a 2017 game, but it certainly didn't feel like it was an amazingly well polished, visually speaking, 2017 game. Anyways, I don't want to ramble on too much. That's going to be it for this series. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos, because that helps me with YouTube. There is a whole bunch of playlists on my YouTube channel where I've covered other games. Check some of those out if you like. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.